Your daily dose of sports talk is here. Highlights, interviews, and analysis. From the entertainment capital of the world, SportsWrap with Jason Page starts now.
And good to be with you on this Wednesday edition of the show. Lots to do over the next 60 minutes. Some NFL talk later on in the program. Big changes at the quarterback position for one NFL team. And another young stud NFL quarterback sort of lamenting what was a lost season. We'll get into that. And lots to talk about in odds and ends. One of the best running backs in the nation makes it official. He's heading into the pro ranks next year. We'll play in the NFL. We'll tell you who that is. A big parting of the ways between one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world, when it comes to tennis. We'll get into that as well. But we start things as we do every day on this show. Oh, yeah, wait. Some guy's going to be with us. Oh, you may have heard of him. Stan Van Gundy, former NBA head coach, does a great job with Prime Video on the NBA analysis of their broadcasts. You may have seen him on Tuesday night for the NBA Cup final with the Knicks beating the San Antonio Spurs to capture a title. And that's where we begin with the big story. Big story is the New York Knicks. Usually the big story in a game with Victor Wembanyama is Victor Wembanyama. Let's face it, he's 7'5". But the big story in this case was what the New York Knicks did on Tuesday night. Hoisting a trophy for the first time in my life. Hoisting a trophy, a championship, a title. They'll hang a banner, I'm sure, at Madison Square Garden. It's not the banner we all have been hoping for, but it's a banner nonetheless. The Knicks are your NBA Cup champions in the third year of the event out there in Las Vegas. Or I should say out there. Out here. I live here now. In Las Vegas. And as a lot of you know, if you watch the show or listen to the show, if you're listening to the podcast or watch the show, I don't go to a lot of live sporting events anymore. I went to a couple of NASCAR events this year. I don't generally go because I don't like large crowds. I don't like being confined. I like the TV experience of being able to click away if I don't feel like watching for a few minutes. Sort of this ADD brain of mine. So I don't generally go to a lot of sporting events. I made an exception last night, though, because the Knicks are my favorite basketball team. I've grown up with them. That is a lot of people don't know, that's a Patrick Ewing signed basketball above my head. Looks like it's growing out of my head if you watch the show. And I've had people actually message me and say, it looks like the basketball's coming out of your head. It's not. See? There it is. But Patrick Ewing was my favorite player growing up. I'm a diehard Knicks fan. So I said I'm going to make an exception. I wanted to go to the game last night over at T-Mobile Arena, which was my first time in T-Mobile Arena. I've lived here over a year, haven't gone to a Golden Knights game. Haven't been to a Raiders game. Went last night and decided to take in this Knicks Spurs game. And I'm a huge fan of Victor Wembanyama and think he is the future of this league. He is the future face of this league. I think that's something and a responsibility and a role he wants to take on. So I said, let me go watch the game in person. And my husband had actually never been to an NBA game. So I said, let's take you to your first NBA game. It'll be a fun experience. So thank you to Stan Van Gundy, first of all, and the folks at Prime Video. They actually hooked it up. We had a couple of great seats for the game last night. And being able to watch these two teams in person and see the drastic difference in styles in the way they go about it. I was curious to see how the Knicks would defend Wemby. I thought they were physical, which I think is what you're going to have to be. And you're going to have to hope the officials let the game be physical in order to play against Victor Wembanyama, because he's so tall and so rangy that it's impossible to defend him both inside and out. You have to try and take something away. You're going to have to let him shoot the three, because even at 7'5", he could actually get around you and blow by you. And he's so long that he's going to be able to get his shot off. Nobody's going to block his shot. So I thought the Knicks did the best they could. I thought the one mistake from Mitch Johnson in this game, the Spurs head coach, and I know some of this was tempering the minutes of Wemby, was not bringing him back in until 4.5 minutes left. And I think the Knicks were up 7 or 8 at that point. They went on this huge run. They were down 12 in the third quarter, if I'm not mistaken. They were certainly down double digits. And then they make this run in the fourth quarter. I just thought they waited too long to bring Wemby back in. Again, some of that is trying to sort of monitor his minutes as he comes back from this calf strain, because we know what calf strains can often lead to. But say this for the Knicks. They are looking at this as a stepping stone for the franchise towards their ultimate goal with Mike Brown as the head coach, and that is to win an NBA championship, bring a title to New York. This was a great first step. It is also very notable to watch the difference in style between Tom Thibodeau, the former Knicks coach, and Mike Brown, who I couldn't tell sometimes if he was standing in line waiting for, at the airport in TSA, or if he was coaching the team. Because he just sits there with his hands in his pockets and he watches the game and just lets the players play. And I'm not saying one style of Thibodeau versus one style with Brown is right or wrong. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but it's certainly an enormous contrast watching Mike Brown coach this team from the way Tom Thibodeau coached this team. It's also an enormous contrast to see the Knicks use their bench. When you're missing guys like Landry Shamet and Deuce McBride as they are, it's refreshing to watch the way that Mike Brown actually utilizes the Knicks bench. They go more than 7 players deep. They actually get guys into the game. Tyler Kolek was fantastic last night. For the Knicks, and watching the way this sort of thing played out, it's a great stepping stone for them. Nothing for the Spurs to hang their heads about. They beat the Thunder out there in Las Vegas, something that only a handful of teams may be able to do this season. But the story is the Knicks. They get themselves a championship. They hoisted a trophy last night. Huge night for Jalen Brunson and the Knicks players. Congratulations to them. And it was a blast watching it out here in Las Vegas and getting to see my favorite team without having to go to New York or Los Angeles or Phoenix to go and watch them play. It was an absolute blast. All right, there was a lot more to talk about in the show. Stan Van Gundy will be here coming up in 10 minutes. The former NBA head coach does a great job with Prime Video on the analysis side. He worked the game last night with Dwayne Wade and Ian Eagle. So we'll get Stan's thoughts on what we saw at the NBA Cup, the first half or the first third of this NBA season. NBA expansion is in the works. I want to get his thoughts on that. We'll spend a few segments with Stan Van Gundy on this Wednesday edition of SportsWrap. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to do. And this Wednesday edition of SportsWrap continues. Talked about it in the big story. We'll expand upon it now. Knicks taking the NBA Cup title on Tuesday night here in Las Vegas, where I'm based. Had a blast out there. This guy had a blast. Although, spending a week in Las Vegas is dangerous, Stan Van Gundy. Prime Video, Stan Van Gundy, working on the broadcast last night with Ian Eagle and Dwayne Wade, the former NBA coach and proud to say good friend of mine, hangs out with us on the show. So, first of all, week in Vegas, do you have anything left after a week in Vegas? You probably won't need to come back here for like years if you could avoid it.
No, well, yeah, Vegas will, it'll certainly takes a lot of energy, no question about that. But the NBA Cup is great. All 3 games here were fantastic. It just turned into a great event. Really, we were all really excited about it.
Yeah, it really was. What is your big takeaway for not just on the Knicks side of this, but the Spurs also, beating the Thunder, which is something we may only see a handful of times this year, doing what they did, the continued growth of that team. Your overall takeaway just from the teams that you got to see while you were here.
Yeah, look, we saw 4 really good teams. I think in the West, I think we're going to see the Spurs and Thunder develop into a great rivalry over the next few years. I mean, I think we're going to see more of what we saw on Saturday night. I think the Spurs, particularly as we get later in this year and into next year and stuff, they're the biggest threat to Oklahoma City if they can stay healthy. I mean, they're 18-7. And they have not been healthy at all. Wembanyama missed 12 games, and Castle missed games, Fox missed games, Harper missed games. They're 4 best players. So I think that's going to be an outstanding team. I still don't think anybody's in Oklahoma City's ballpark, even though they lost the other night. It takes them really struggling to lose a very close game. Trying to beat them 4 times in the playoffs. People will say, well, look, they went 7 games last year with Denver. They went 7 games last year with Indiana. And my response to that, Jason, is, yeah, but they're a lot better this year than they were last year. I mean, people never think that the championship teams are getting better. They only think the other teams are getting better. But Oklahoma City is significantly better than they were a year ago.
Is there a chance, though, that San Antonio, almost grows into, like a teenager grows into its body? Is there a chance that they grow into their body enough that by the time we get to the postseason in a 7-game series where you're seeing each other every other day and you have that opportunity, that they could potentially, if everything breaks right and they're healthy, because let's be honest, nobody's as deep as Oklahoma City is. But if everything breaks right, they can push them to the distance?
Absolutely, I think they can. I think that's the team. And I think Denver and Houston are right there, too, for this year. But going forward, it's those 2 teams. But San Antonio is going to contend this year. First of all, they are the team that best can match the depth of Oklahoma City, and I think best can match the athleticism of Oklahoma City. And then Wembanyama is a total game changer. I mean, what you can do offensively against him is limited. I mean, you have to have somebody to pull him away from the basket because nobody wants to challenge him at the rim. I thought offensively he wasn't great last night. I think he wanted it so badly and he just came back. I thought he forced things, but as he's back longer and settles in, I mean, look, that guy is going to dominate this league for a long, long time. And then on the other side, I think, it's not the East. I think we saw 2 of the top 3 teams with New York and Orlando. I think Detroit obviously on top, but New York's really starting to play well. Since they put Josh Hart in the starting lineup, they're 9-1. Last night's game, of course, doesn't count in the standings, which is a little weird. But, they've basically won 10 of 11 since Hart went into the starting lineup. They've been 6 points better offensively in their offensive rating and 4 points better in their defensive rating. And look, it takes some time when you're a new coach and Mike Brown to sort of play with the pieces. And I think what people don't really understand about the Knicks and what they did here in Vegas is, they're missing 2 very key bench pieces to them. Deuce McBride and Landry Shamet have been huge for them all year, and they're out. And so their depth is severely compromised, though last night their bench was tremendous.
Yeah,
Mitchell
Tyler
Robinson,
Kolek. Yeah, Tyler Kolek was good.
And Jordan Clarkson. I mean, and that's missing 2 really good players. I mean, listen, that team's going to be really good. And we thought Cleveland would be there. That's maybe been the most disappointing team in the East. So right now, I think Orlando, again, can't stay healthy. Suggs went down the other day after they were right there at halftime. It's going to be fun. It always is, but this year is shaping up to me as good a year as we've had in a long time.
Sam, go ahead.
Stan, we've seen 3 iterations now of the NBA Cup, the in-season tournament. At its inception, it was very hotly contested. You've seen a lot of basketball in your day and a lot of eras of the NBA. How do you feel about the NBA Cup?
I love it. I'm a huge fan of it. I think the NBA league office deserves a lot of credit for this. There were a lot of skeptics. I wasn't as bad a skeptic as some people, but I was sort of a wait and see. It's fabulous. And I think what's happened is every year now, the players have gotten more and more into it. Like, there's no question. You watch the games on the floor, even the pool play games, there's an added level of intensity. an added level of energy. And then when you talk to the players, they love it. I mean, they're really, really into it. The coaches have come to like it because it's an early season test where you put the pressures, put the players under some pressure. I just think it's been a great event. I mean, the entire time I've been around the league as a coach and a broadcaster, you're middle of the week in December before Christmas. Nobody's really very excited about the NBA. It's NFL football, as it should be.
Sure.
And then Christmas Day sort of kicks off our season. Well, now we've had November and December where people care. I mean, a great event. Adam Silver and his staff, this was great.
Stan Van Gundy's hanging out with us, Prime Video. You can see him on the broadcast throughout the season, the former NBA head coach. More to do with him as we continue on this Wednesday edition of Sports Wrap. Let's take it to segment 3 on this Wednesday edition of Sports Wrap. Stan Van Gundy hangs out with us, former NBA head coach. Prime Video on the broadcasts. And real quick, Stan, on the Prime Video stuff, how have you enjoyed the transition over to Amazon and what they've done?
It's been great. I think they're starting something new. Everybody is really locked in on trying to have the best broadcast possible. Obviously I'm biased, Jason, but I look and when I watch our stuff and even when the other crew is on, I think it looks great visually. I think they went out and got great play-by-play guys. Ian Eagle, obviously, Kevin Harlan, Michael Grady. I mean, those guys are just tremendous and can make people like myself and Brent Barry and Dwayne Wade look good. So I think that's been good. But on the production side, they've got great producers and directors. They went out and got the best camera people in the business, and it's just really a good product and a lot of fun. We're all excited about it every day. And our studio show is, I think,
oh my goodness,
the best in the business already. I walked out of the building last night with Adam Silver, and he was extolling their virtues about how they talk about basketball and, they're positive about the league, but they're not cheerleaders, and they really have gotten analytical. Amina Hussein, who hired the talent there, really did a great job of putting together a list of ex-players. Dirk Nowitzki, Blake Griffin, Udonis Haslem, Steve Nash, Candace Parker, Swin Cash, John Wall, Rudy Gay. I mean, these people watch the game, follow the game, know the game, and have great opinions and things. It's really been a lot of fun. And Taylor Rooks brings it all together.
Do you get the sense they're going to keep this NBA Cup in being around Adam Silver? And he didn't really address it yesterday and all the things he did address. Do you get the sense they're going to keep this final in Vegas, or do you think ultimately it moves away? I thought the vibe and the energy in the arena last night was pretty darn good for everything I had heard about, it lacked atmosphere. I thought the vibe in there was pretty cool.
I thought it was fantastic, all 3 games. I thought a year ago it did lack some atmosphere, but I think, look, you have to let things have time to catch on a little bit. And year 1 and 2, I think the fans weren't, what is this? And I don't get it. And now I think this year they really got it. And you live in Vegas or anywhere near, first of all, you get a chance to come out and see the Knicks. You get a chance to come out and see Victor Wembanyama, the defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder. And this year, more than the last year, it seems like a lot of fans of those teams traveled to get here. And why not? I mean, you get a chance to come to Vegas, watch your team play and play for something. It's a lot of fun. I know they're thinking about or going to put the semifinals back in home arenas. Quite honestly, I think that's a mistake. I think that the players and the teams enjoyed the tournament atmosphere of having 4 teams in one place.
Yeah.
I think it was exciting. And I hope after next year they'll go back to this kind of format.
I texted this to you last night. I said, I may never get to see the Knicks win an NBA championship because after 50 years, who knows if they'll ever win one. But at least I got to see them put a trophy up in the air last night, watching them out here in Vegas, which was kind of cool. Go ahead, Sam.
Stan, I wanted to get your thoughts. We've kind of touched loosely on the Thunder, but a big story to me, even coming off of their loss in the NBA Cup semifinals, is this team's still chasing a record. Do you think they're going to break the Golden State Warriors record for having the best record of all time? And if they do, quick follow-up, should Mark Daigneault win Coach of the Year? It's hard for NBA coaches to win in such short succession. Can Daigneault do it?
I think they can break the record. They're certainly capable of it. We've never seen a team this dominant defensively. Coming into the NBA Cup, there was as big a difference in defensive rating between Oklahoma City at number 1 and Houston at number 2 as there was between Houston at number 2 and the Clippers at 25. I mean, it is just phenomenal what this team does. And what that allows them to do is every team, even the best teams, we all know, have bad offensive nights and things like that. Look, the Thunder had a bad offensive night the other night on Saturday, and they were a Alex Caruso offensive rebound at the end of the game from getting that thing to overtime. Oklahoma City is great, and there's a lot of people you could promote for Coach of the Year, but Mark Daigneault, the job he's done in Oklahoma City. I was in New Orleans when Mark was first coaching in Oklahoma City, and he didn't have talent. But even then, he installed what you see now, a team that plays with great intensity and togetherness. They built the foundation the right way, and then Sam Presti obviously just keeps hitting it out of the park with the people he puts on the roster. And between he and Mark, this is a team that's going to have to be dealt with for half a decade or more.
Yeah, and like I said, I texted this to you on, I think, Saturday. I said the Spurs are their foil. I think that's the team that for that next half decade at least can hang right there with them. Hey, what did you think of what's going on right now with the Warriors, the emails that leaked out, Lacob and Steve Kerr and how he's reacted to it? I said 3 years ago they should have broken this thing apart. I think they're going to regret it. We were talking about it during the week. The Chiefs are going through something similar right now where they're going to have to make decisions about how they sort of go forward with this franchise after this dynastic period. How, looking at it from a little bit afar, how do you sort of digest what's going on with the Warriors right now?
Well, yeah, they're in a tough spot because they're trying to give Steph Curry and Draymond Green one more run at it. And so they didn't want to break it up. And look, it's hard to do. I think, first of all, they brought Jimmy Butler in at the end of last year, and they looked like a team who could contend. They beat Houston in a great 7-game series and then beat Minnesota game 1, and then Steph goes down. So they certainly looked like contenders. It's been a rough start for them now. Steve Kerr's as good as anybody figuring it out. They're going to get better.
All right, we got more to do with Stan Van Gundy, the Prime Video NBA analyst and former NBA head coach, right here on SportsWrap. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to this Wednesday edition of the show. A lot more to talk about with Prime Video NBA analyst Stan Van Gundy. Sam Yarnell and myself had a lot of questions for the former NBA head coach.
One of those top 4 teams that you mentioned, Stan, that I think has been kind of, maybe flown under the radar somehow this season, maybe because of all the greatness that's going on in the West, is the Los Angeles Lakers and LeBron James, who came back in year, 22 at this point, and is still doing LeBron James things. Now, like we said, it's a tight West, and there's a lot of great teams, maybe the greatest team that we've seen in a long time in the NBA in the Western Conference right now. Are the Lakers real contenders to win the West? Can they challenge Oklahoma City?
I don't see it. I don't see it. they just don't have enough depth or athleticism. I mean, you watch that game, the quarterfinal game Wednesday night in LA, we did, and San Antonio literally just ran past them. I mean, the Lakers could not keep up with the athleticism. And that was San Antonio without Victor Wembanyama. And the guards were just in the paint all night. There's just not enough athleticism. And defensively, they're going to struggle. I think J.J. Redick's done a tremendous job in trying to hide some of their flaws. But at the end of the day, if you're going to have on the court at the end of the game, Austin Reeves, Luka Doncic, and LeBron James, all of those guys are minuses as defenders at this point in their career. I mean, obviously, LeBron at one point was a defensive player of the year type guy, but not now. And Ayton's decent defensively, but there's just nobody to put out there with them. I think they're better when only two of those guys are on the floor, but still not good enough when I look at Denver, Houston, Oklahoma City, San Antonio. I'd take all those teams over the Lakers.
It's funny. I watched that Denver-Houston game the other night over on Peacock, and their broadcasts have been great. As well, with NBC getting back into the NBA business. But I watched that game the other night, and the intensity in that game. People who are going to say, "Oh, it's Christmas, let me pick up the NBA." They've missed some good basketball early in the season, Stan. That game the other night, I don't know if you saw it, with Denver and Houston was fantastic.
Well, look, I don't remember a time, Jason, where the early season NBA has been as good as it has been this year.
I agree.
I give a lot of credit to the NBA Cup, but I think there's a lot of teams out there who are talented, who think they've got a shot. And Denver and Houston, certainly two of them. And when they meet up even early in the season this year, boy, we've put together some great games.
For expansion, Seattle and Las Vegas next year? I mean, is that what they're going to announce? Is that the sense that you get?
You know what? I really don't have any inside information or a sense of it. I'd certainly want to see Seattle get a team back. I thought they were a city that supported the NBA very, very well. And Vegas, look, everybody's going to end up here in Vegas. We got the A's coming in baseball, and they should. I mean, this is a great sports city. There's no doubt it's coming. I think the interesting question with NBA expansion is how soon are they going to put a team overseas in Europe and play a regular schedule? They talk about the distance, but if you're in New York or anywhere on the East Coast, you can get to London as quickly as you can get to Los Angeles. So yeah. I don't really think that's a big difference. The NBA knows how to work schedules. I think part of it, Adam Silver did say last night, Dirk Nowitzki was asking him on the pregame show a little bit about NBA Europe and things. The biggest challenge, Adam said, is infrastructure, getting NBA quality arenas over there. I think as we see some of that pick up, I would say next 5 or 6 years, I'd be surprised if we didn't have a franchise. A lot of people are saying they think the only way it would work, they'd have to put 2 franchises over there so that you could go over and play 2, 3, 4 games on one trip and come back. It's spreading all over, and we're certainly going to see expansion probably here first, but I think eventually there.
I wanted to get another thought from you, Stan, on Cooper Flagg. Obviously, on Monday, we saw a career so far performance out of the rookie. I thought it was interesting. It was in a game where Anthony Davis didn't play. Do you think that there's any level of the Mavericks that are holding Cooper Flagg back by playing him in this weird role with also having Anthony Davis on the floor?
I don't think it's holding him back, as evidenced by his performances. I mean, he's just gotten steadily better. I do think the challenge for the Mavericks is, what do they see as their timeline now? Now that Luka's gone, what do they see as their timeline? And because of his injury history and everything, in my mind, Anthony Davis doesn't really fit that. It's going to be Cooper Flagg, some of the other young guys they've got, and they're going to have to build around him. And obviously, because of his age, they have a big window to do that. Look, it's tough choice always in front offices, but there's a good possibility that their best move might be to try to cash in Anthony Davis and even eventually Kyrie Irving and create a little bit of the Oklahoma City model for how they've built this. So it'll be interesting to watch, but he's a great one because he's already, look, I think he put up 40 the other night. I think his strength's at the defensive end of the floor. So this guy's got a chance to be tremendous.
Stan Van Gundy, Prime Video. Watch him throughout the season over there with the whole team. It is a fantastic team. I always appreciate your time. You're always gracious with it, and it was great to see you from afar last night while I was sitting across the court from you. Be well, my friend. Enjoy the rest of your time in Las Vegas. Let's talk soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Sam, Jason, thank you.
All right, Odds and Ends wraps it up in 10 minutes. Let's get to some NFL. And there is news from the NFL, Sam Yarnell. And it literally broke. It literally broke while we were doing the show, so we didn't have time to change the production. It's not could the Dolphins bench Tua. Mike McDaniel, the head coach of the Dolphins, was asked yesterday in his press conference, his media availability, about the idea of benching Tua, and listen to what he said.
Well, I think the quarterback play last night was not good enough, and so for me, everything's on the table.
I still didn't think he'd actually do it, Sam. So the news that came down today is they are benching Tua. Quinn Ewers will be the new starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, and I gotta say, man, or as the kids would say, that's a choice. I mean, I guess that's a way you can go. And when you make that kind of decision here, Sam, are you basically saying we've decided to move on from Tua? Is there any other way to view it other than we're moving on from Tua and they're going to start exploring ways to either move him somewhere else and get out of this financial obligation or start to kind of figure out, what the next chapter of the Dolphins looks like? And is Mike McDaniel a part of that? I got to admit, I'm surprised. I didn't think they'd actually pull the trigger.
Yeah, I mean, Jason, to your point at the end there, it has to be, right? That has to be. Well, no, it doesn't. I take that back. It doesn't have to be, but you would have to assume that is the route that they're taking. There is, there's savings, there's money to be saved, and at the end of the day, this is the sad, not so sad in this case, part of the business side of football. Right? Sometimes you're just a dollar figure, and sometimes that dollar figure's negative when compared to your talent. And I think the Dolphins, quite frankly, maybe not if they're just trying to see, or if they're just trying to keep Tua healthy in case they're going to trade him. Maybe they're trying to see if they're going to. Maybe they're trying to see, hey, is Quinn Ewers a guy that we can learn over the last 3 games of the season that, okay, he can actually handle the reins of this offense for 1 year until we get back to getting a new quarterback or whatever the case may be. It feels like this is, like you said, in not so many words, the beginning of the end, right? It feels like this is it for Tua Tagovailoa. It doesn't feel like he's going to get another shot somewhere else. If someone's trading for him, it's a team that's in a rebuild, taking a shot. Like, I could, as stupid as this sounds, I could see the Jets trading for him. I could see the Vikings trading for him. A team that just needs a refresh, needs to take a shot on a quarterback. It feels like that is where Tua ends up at this point.
It could also be a team, it could be a Russell Wilson situation where you draft a quarterback and bring in Tua. No. Where you draft a quarterback and you bring in Tua as sort of a placeholder while you get that quarterback ready. I could see that sort of situation. I don't know who's trading for him. what are you realistically getting for Tua at this point? You're talking about a guy whose brains have been scrambled multiple times and is still probably one concussion away from, vegetable protocol. And then you're talking about, a guy that when he is playing is okay. And as long as the weather's warm, can be okay. Like, I don't know, Sam. I do not envy the position the Dolphins are in when it comes to Tua right now. Real quick.
I think that they'll get, at this point, somewhere between a second and fourth round pick for him. And if you're the Dolphins, you got to take that because you need to rebuild.
Yeah,
like a fish needs water, you need to rebuild.
I'll split the difference. Maybe they get a third round pick. I can't see anybody giving up a second round pick for this version of Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, with 1 year left, you're right. Yeah. It's third and a fifth. It's between a third and a fifth.
From him to Jaden Daniels, who is expressing his frustration with what has been a difficult season for the Commanders quarterback, and he is being shelved for the rest of the season as the team looks forward to next year. Is Dan Quinn going to be the head coach when we talk about sort of this franchise and as they go forward? Will he be the guy coaching Jaden Daniels when this team gets back on the field next year, Sam? Or is there a chance that they turn the page on Dan Quinn?
Gosh, it's something that has floated, didn't even really come to mind until you mentioned it to me, and now I kind of can't get it out of my mind. But I think at the end of the day, what it's going to come down to with Dan Quinn, at least for one more year in Washington, is this is really, of all the years in the NFL that you could chalk up to the dice just didn't roll our way, it's this one in Washington, right? Yeah, Deebo Samuel missed a large portion of the year. He was the guy who you went out this offseason to try and get to improve this offense, right? You had Terry McLaurin, who Deebo Samuel was brought in to build upon. Gosh, words are hard sometimes. Terry McLaurin hasn't played virtually at all this year. The defense has been missing pieces all throughout, all three levels, all season long. It really has been an unfortunate set of circumstances for Dan Quinn. I think he'll get another shot, if anything, because he was here at the beginning of this rebuild, Jason. He is one of those pillars of the post-Dan Snyder era in Washington. I think that gives him a slightly longer leash.
It's okay if you struggled with words because people don't know it because we have this beautiful thing called editing, but I've been calling Stan Van Gundy Sam Van Gundy and you Stan Yarnell for most of the day today. So it's okay. It happens. All right, odds and ends. We'll wrap it up in a couple of minutes. A notable retirement from the world of boxing, but has anybody really ever retired in boxing? And a notable split in the world of tennis. He's one of the very best in the world, if not the best in the world, and he's dumping his coach. We'll get to it next. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Wednesday. Tomorrow, Kurt Heelan will be on the show. He was so gracious as to move his usual Wednesday hit with us to Thursday because we had Stan Van Gundy today. Or as Kurt put it in a text to me yesterday, I'm just as capable of ruining your Thursday show as I am your Wednesday show. Thank you, Kurt. So our NBA insider from NBC Sports will be here tomorrow. Before we go, a couple of reminders. If you have not done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to the audio version of this show Monday through Friday, available for you early in the afternoon. It's fantastic. Great while you're in the car, on the treadmill, in the shower, sitting in bed, on a plane, on a train. It's a good 45 minutes. Go and check it out. We also have the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. This is the place for all things Sports Wrap with Jason Page. We have the show there, the TV version of the show, Monday through Friday, available for you. We also have Sports Wrap Shorts, which if you have not checked these out yet, they're usually about a minute long as 3 minutes. When news breaks, sometimes we're not here on the TV to tell you about it. So that's why we have Sports Wrap Shorts. Sports Wrap Shorts, available on our YouTube channel. Go and subscribe to that today. Also, On TikTok, we have SportsWrap Shorts. SportsWrap Jason Page is the handle there. And on Instagram, SportsWrap Jason Page. Easy to remember. Go and check that out today. And without any further delay on this Wednesday edition of the show, we just can't talk today. It's time for some odds. And ends, Sam Yarnell. Terrence Bud Crawford calling it a career. Sam Yarnell, 42-0, says he has nothing left to prove. I don't ever believe guys are retired, because if there's a paycheck out there, a lot of these guys come out of retirement to claim that paycheck. So if, Jake Paul comes out and says, I want to fight Terrence Bud Crawford, as he has recently said, and the money's right, I think Terrence Bud Crawford's going to fight against Jake Paul. That's just where I am when it comes to boxers, Sam.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I do think that, when you have boxers like Bud Crawford, and quite frankly, it's fair to put him in the same conversation as a guy like Floyd or like Manny, right? When you see these guys walk away, it tends to be a pretty big deal. Now, that said, both Floyd and Manny retired, walked away, then came back and fought each other. So anything is possible, as Kevin Garnett would say, right? But regardless, Bud Crawford, one of the greatest boxers we will ever see, one of the greatest American boxers we will ever see, pound for pound, as he retires, the best boxer in the sport right now. Jason, it was an incredible career. I'm kind of in your corner, but at the same time, Bud Crawford is a 38-year-old from Omaha, Nebraska, who is 42-0 in his career. There is absolutely no incentive to do anything besides hang up the gloves, move back to Omaha, and never speak to anyone again.
And I think he'd be okay with that. 5 divisions championship, 18 major world championships.
Yeah.
I mean,
yes,
that's mic drop stuff right there.
Never lost.
Nope.
Literally never lost.
Never lost. Amazing. Like even Floyd lost in the Olympics. Crawford's never lost. Can you imagine going through life? Imagine just doing the very best of whatever it is you do, and never losing. It's a remarkable thing to think about. Carlos Alcaraz has lost, but he's also won a lot. And Carlos Alcaraz, with 6 Grand Slams, has decided, you know what, I'm good, Juan Carlos Ferrero. Let's go our separate ways. The man who guided him to this point in his career, after 7 years together, they decide to part ways, the 22-year-old and Ferrero splitting up, Sam Yarnell.
It's crazy that he was with JCF since he was 15.
JCF.
That is wild. I may be off on my math there, right? With the months or whatever, it could have been 14. Who knows? Still, absolutely crazy. Listen, I feel like we saw this in other, in the careers of other tennis greats, not necessarily Roger, because I think he was with that one coach for a long time.
Yeah.
But Novak has switched coaches a couple times. Rafa switched coaches a couple of times.
Oh, sure.
It feels like this thing happens more frequently than we assume.
But there is a very interesting quote in the statement from Ferrero that tells you this was Alcaraz basically firing. Because here's the quote from Ferrero. Today is a difficult day. One of those when it's hard to find the right words. Saying goodbye is never easy, especially when there are so many shared experiences. Adding he wished I could have continued as Alcaraz's coach. So that tells you, if he wanted to continue, then this was Carlos Alcaraz saying, it's time I need a new voice in my camp. Just saying.
Yeah, and I get it. I don't know. I'm sure there are underlying themes here, right? Like, there's got to be some sort of, maybe there's a money issue. And, the scope of tennis is so broad, and there are so many little dark corners. Who knows? But you're right. It does have the optics of, he got fired, not, I'm out of here. It's a mutual parting of ways.
You won't have time to comment on it, but Jeremiah Love has made himself eligible for the NFL draft. There you go.
Top 5.
Top 5. Easily could have been considered the best in the country this year in college football. fantastic year for him. Thanks to Stan Van Gundy. Thanks to all of you at home for watching. Sam, we'll see you all tomorrow back here on Sports Wrap. Bye-bye.